Okay, you're good.
All set, Bo?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Right, good evening. I'd like to call the regular monthly village board meeting to get order on Tuesday, August 18th at 6 p.m. Roll call, please.
Lino,
Here.
Baker,
Here.
Hurdle,
Here.
Bell,
Here.
Duffy,
Here.
Peduncle,
Here.
and Nino.
Here.
Would you please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Approval of the agenda as published.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Approval of the minutes as published. We have several of them.
Pertaining to July 21st minutes, I have a correction on page 6,
Okay,
line 18. It talks about an excess of 1,000 people who reside in the state have now tested positive. That was for that particular day. That was a milestone, not a total.
okay. For daily.
Right.
Okay. Ugh. Hold on a second, I just lost my. Okay. I have two screens going. I laid my thumb on the wrong key. Lost my screen. Okay. Denise, do you want to make a motion for the 21st?
I shall, as amended.
I'll second.
Okay, this would approve the August 21 date or minutes. All in favor?
July 21.
I'm sorry, July 21. Yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Would somebody like to make a motion for the next set of minutes?
I'll make the motion, we approve them.
Which ones?
July, help me out with the date here.
We did the 21st.
Tuesday, August.
August 4th, portal review. Does that sound okay?
Yep.
Okay.
I have a correction for that, or a question.
Okay.
I believe it's on page 22.
They're over by 22. 21's the last page.
Denise is talking about the packet number.
Well, didn't you send the attachment for Board of Review separate?
Yeah.
Okay, well, on the bottom, it says page 5 at the top, but there's multiple pages for each objection, and on the bottom, it says page 22.
So that would be page 22 of the attachment.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay.
And the decision pertaining to, even though I wasn't there, whoever was objecting for that, Duffy made the motion, Kadanko second, but there is no bullet point circled.
I'll have to go back and look at it because I don't have it in front of me.
Okay. All the other ones did at least have one, so I was just curious.
I probably just missed it because I had to rewrite some of them. I was taking notes furiously that night, so I probably missed it.
Anything else on the Board of Review minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. And we have the third set of minutes.
That's the August 4th special meeting.
Yes.
I'll make the motion to approve them.
Thank you. Is
I'll
there a
second.
second? Okay. Any changes or additions on the August 4th minutes?
I have nothing.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay. Comments, correspondence, and concerns from the public. Does anybody in the public have a comment about a non-agenda item? Okay, I don't see any. Correspondence. Would you like to review the correspondence, Janelle? Don't have to read it. I'll just give a summary.
Sure. There was an email that was received from Mary Blickman. In that email, Mary suggests that a mask wearing mandate be imposed in the village. There was an email from David Frickman about the condition of Little Sister Road and the fact that he believes that repairs are warranted. There was a letter from the owners of property at Mariners Point about the decisions which were made at Board of Review. There was a donation request from Neighbor to Neighbor, and there was a COVID-19 operations update from the Wisconsin Humane Society.
Okay. Does anybody have any correspondence they would like to add to the record that they've received?
I can just make a comment on there for the Little Sister Road. Just an update. This week, the parks crew did go out there and patch the holes out there.
Okay, thank you. All right, no other correspondence. We'll move to new business. Item number 1, discussion regarding an update on the village's response to the COVID-19 pandemic. A review of the Longwood Wave 16 COVID-19 travel study. Consider a motion for action if necessary. At the county level, I don't have a lot to add. As you know, the daily totals have been rising steadily, a few at a time, not unexpectedly, given the volume of our visitors. But I do know that the state, I believe, is getting ready to move. Well, this is not for sure, but my understanding was they were going to start, the count is starting to decrease. I know that Wisconsin has been removed as of today from the Chicago travel quarantine ban. So if you come from Wisconsin into Chicago or Chicago to Wisconsin and back, you no longer have to do the 14-day quarantine. That was effective today. So that's good news. That means overall our percentage rate of positive testing is moving down. Positive cases per 100,000 is moving down. That's all I have to say about it at the moment. If anybody else wants to add anything or questions,
Nope.
would somebody like to review? Louise, did you do the Longwood Wave 19 travel study?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm happy to just call out the highlights to people. I think that essentially the takeaway, the big takeaway is that, and this was, they've done several of them. This is the most recent. 68% of traveling Americans still say they plan to travel in the next 6 months. The other big takeaway was that reliance on information from state or local health officials slipped from 38% in April to 28% in July. And we would all, I think we've talked about this, but attribute that to how confusing it is at the local, state, municipal, whatever level, right? So I think as a result of that, it could possibly be why, you know, that 68%, which is very strong, of people still intend to travel. And also, however, when they travel, they have no problem, and not with just this survey, but in others, they have no problem with masking orders, no problem with any effort to keep things clean, and would prefer actually, and will make a choice to go that way, and including outside dining versus inside, which we can certainly see in Sister Bay. So it would tell us, and I'll talk about occupancy and all that stuff in a second, but it would tell us that we can expect, you know, God willing, and this unbelievably great weather to continue, that we would see some pretty good numbers in terms of people traveling for fall.
Okay. Any questions or comments, anybody? Okay, thank you, Louise.
Mhm.
If there's nothing else on COVID-19, we'll move to the second item. Discussion regarding potential extension of the Village of Sister Bay's declaration of public health emergency. Consider a motion for action if appropriate. I would make a motion that we again extend it to, I think it's through September 28th, that we extend it through October 31st. Just an ongoing, have it in our pocket in case we need it, given that we're concerned about what's going to happen with Fall Fest and Pumpkin Patch weekends. I think it's a good thing to continue in place at this point in time. There are some new, and I don't know if Tasha has received any of this. I just got some information via the county that the state is setting up some additional funding mechanisms for dollars that have been received from the federal government that were not covered before. It covers certain employees. I was thinking of the library because it does cover some non-essential things, but I don't have all the information yet. And I did ask that when the county gets a little better info on it, that they send it out to all the municipalities so everybody's aware of it.
But right now it's extended to September 28th, and this would push it out till October.
Yes, October 31st, right?
Well, at the present time, the ordinance that's in the packets says that you'd extend it for 30 days, which would bring it to September 27th. Do you want to do it for 60 days? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, I misunderstood. I thought it was extended to the 27th.
No, it expires, let me check once.
Okay, I read that wrong then. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm good with it then.
Okay, all right. Yeah, back at to the 28th then. I'm sorry. I misunderstood when I read it.
Okay, so just do it, extend it to September 27th then, and then you'll
Yes.
adjust it again in September.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, so I'll make my amended motion.
I'll second.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Item number 3, discussion regarding the recommendation from the Plan Commission that the village board pass and adopt
I think
resolution.
Luis has a question.
I'm sorry.
I really don't have a question. I just thought the group should know, this relates to what you just discussed relative to Fall Festival, that we had 100 cancellations after we made the Fall Fest cancellation announcement. But to put that into perspective, that's of the 840 available rooms that we track. You know, we don't track Airbnbs and things like that. It's too difficult. Of those 100 cancellations, easily 25 were vendors. And we forget about vendors. Vendors, you know, spend the night with us and they spend a lot of money with us. So that's less than 9%. And in our conversations with our lodging folks, I think they've been able to rebook some of those, maybe not all, but we're getting there. Right now for Labor Day, we're 60% booked, which is about where we were last year, to tell you the truth. A lot of people, for whatever reason, wait on Labor Day. This year, it could be a little more challenging because most lodging folks are sticking to a 3-night minimum.
Correct.
Because they can't clean the rooms, they can't turn the rooms.
Okay. Item number 3, discussion regarding recommendation from the Plan Commission that the village board pass and adopt resolution 436-0818-2020, approving a certified survey map that was submitted by Nick and Mary Deverly, representatives of Tappawa Brewing Company, that splits parcel 181-00008312842A, which has been signed, an address of 104-440 Orchard Drive, in such fashion that it will contain a lot that is 1.62 acres in size and a lot that is 3.9 acres in size. Consider a motion for action if appropriate.
So moved.
Second.
Questions or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Discussion regarding request from the Sister Bay Liberty Grove Library Commission to increase the village's share of the funding for Sister Bay Liberty Grove Library in 2020 by $5,000. Consider a motion for action if appropriate. Vivian?
Aye.
uh,
In light of a couple of things that just, the information that was in the packet, the agreement with the county, I made this look very iffy, I think. Our agreement with the county basically says we provide the building. But obviously when we agreed to pay to have it open on Thursday, that changed. And now I'm thinking, in light of, you know, if there were more money available, from different sources, it would make sense, but it's just kind of hard to know. The other question, I did have a quick question on, this one had the 5,000, which we had just at the last meeting. They'd gone through some of the numbers a little more in depth, and the librarian, Christina, had decided to go down to one volunteer, one person at each shift. She felt that was enough, so that kind of reduced what she was looking for. And at this point, when they played with the numbers for that, what she figured she might need, they were looking at increasing the commitment from the village and from the town of Liberty Grove just to $38,000 each, just for next year's budget, if they need it.
So I'm a little confused. In the email that I read from you,
Yep.
didn't it talk about instead of 5,000, asking
Right.
for 2,000 from each,
Yes.
from the town and the village rather than the 5,000?
Right. Yeah, she realized that they don't need 2 people on every shift, so that reduced it. She's also thinking that there will be times when there might be some times, especially in the off season, when she wouldn't need somebody on every shift. So she kind of reduced what she felt she would need. And when they played with the numbers, they came down to needing about $5,000, possibly needing 5,000. So they thought if they asked for 2,000 from each, the town and the village, that they'd be able to, especially if there's reduced expenses with only 10 people in at a time, there's probably some of the cleaning wouldn't be, there'd be some reduced expense there. So they felt that they'd be able to cover, part of it would be covered. So they felt that if they could just get that commitment, the budget for the additional $2,000 from the village and from the town, that they would be comfortable with that for 2021.
Okay. And did anybody have discussion from the library commission, have any discussion with Tina from the library?
Christina did talk to her. I don't have that in front of me. Oh yeah, okay. They were talking, she talked to her about the winter hours. Right now, the county, Tina isn't sure, so couldn't say if they're going to be switching any of the libraries to their winter hours. And if we do switch to the winter hours, one of the things we could do, or one of the things the library could do, would be to not open on Thursdays to save that money. It was very confusing because it sounds like the hours that the library is open go up, but the number of hours, if you add up the total hours that the employees are scheduled, that goes down.
Denise?
So if you look on page 6, I think it's 60. Yeah. And you go to 3A, I basically see no confusion at all in the document. Be responsible for administration, management, operation, and staffing of the new branch library, but strictly limited to library management. Public use of the building, such as use of the meeting room, display cases, goes on, is part of the Sister Liberty Grove Building Commission. So I think it's very clear that the county should be picking up the tab.
Okay. I don't necessarily disagree with that, but I think there's a great deal of confusion because nobody's ever asked the county for this position, for this additional money. It's been talked about between Liberty Grove and Sister Bay, but nobody's asked the county that. That's why I asked if there was discussion with Tina.
Okay. Before they ever even looked at having the volunteers for that, Christina did ask the county and they said absolutely not. They would not cover it. So I don't know if that's something, that should go back to the county. Like I'm saying, if the funding would be available from the state, that maybe then the county would look for it. Be willing to do.
What I'm saying is having a discussion with Tina is not making a request to the county for this additional money or this position. So the village and the town should make a formal request to the county for the additional money for the staff and explain why.
Ooh, okay. That sounds great. Worst they can do is say no.
Well,
And
that's
that's-
why
and right now.
that's why I was a little confused with the discussion that was had with Tina, because I thought the idea was that the library commission was going to talk with her about forwarding a request for the dollars or for the position and why, and put it into the county process.
Okay, I was told that it was asked and told, no, I didn't know that there was an option of going back and, making a formal request.
Well, yes, absolutely. It should be a formal request, not just simply a conversation. That will put it into the library board for them to have to discuss and agree or disagree to it.
That
And have discussion with
makes sense.
us.
Okay, agreed. Okay.
Janelle, you're muted in case you're talking.
Sorry, the dogs are barking. Do you, do you think it would make the most sense for them to send that to like the library board, or who should they send it to?
They should send it to the library board, to the committee, asking for, the oversight committee, asking for the dollars and explain why you're asking for the dollars.
Okay.
This is, just like the village, we have out of budget requests that come in on a routine basis. It's got to be handled by the oversight committee, and then it goes to finance to find the money for it if it's not in the regular budget. It's a normal process, just like we do here locally.
Can I just ask a point of clarification?
Sure.
This request, I realize that we're now going to the county with it, so maybe that, negates my question here, but is this for 2020 or 2021's budget?
2021.
Okay,
Was
so
it-
they're asking for a $3,000 increase in the support.
For 2021.
Okay.
2,000, I thought, were we up to
2,000.
35 or 36?
We are at 35.
Okay.
Just so it's on my radar for next year.
Okay.
So you don't need any additional funds then for 2020?
They delayed some maintenance, and I don't have that in front of me right now. Plus so what they had funding for being open on Thursdays during the shutdown, they obviously didn't spend that money. So between that and there was some maintenance that they decided they could delay 1 year, that they could come up with the money to do it for the rest of this year out of the funds that they have. So yeah, it was just for 2021 they were looking at this point.
Chad, just a moment. So the reason I'm talking about getting this back to the county and into the oversight committee right now is they're going through the budget process. September 15th is the meeting between administrative committee and finance committee where they talk about new position summaries for next year going into the budget. And what you're talking about is a new position. And typically that would have been forwarded to finance and admin through the oversight committee at the library asking for that position. and then it's evaluated and reviewed and given a yay or a nay. So I would do whatever you could as quickly as possible to get the library board to submit something to the oversight committee so they can get it on their agenda and have the discussion about it. Because this is not at all, what I understood was they were asking for a couple $1,000s for the balance of this year.
Okay, no, not at this point.
Okay, so
Okay.
that's a whole different matter. Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Chad?
I was just gonna make that comment. I'm looking at this $5,000 for the 2020 budget, and apparently this isn't what we're talking about, so.
Yeah.
We can move on from that.
Yep. Okay, Vivian?
Yep. Okay, I will take care of that.
And I don't know is Ralph the individual?
Yeah, so I will email Ralph in the morning, and he'll probably get back to me tomorrow, and we'll see if we have to call an emergency meeting and get that taken care of, or if that's something he can just do. I don't
Right,
know.
or at least call Tina and give her a heads up that, this request you'd like to see move forward to the oversight committee.
Okay.
Item number 5, consider motion to approve.
Dave?
Sorry, Denise?
That's okay. This document is soon to be 20 years old. Sometime over the winter, should we consider re-looking at it, rewriting it, updating it, doing something to it?
If we have something that we would like to change or see moved,
Okay, could we task then the library committee to take a look at it and see how they feel about the verbiage?
sure.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank
The only caution I have is you might want to do that sooner rather than later. Once you get into November and the budget's approved, it's then locked in for another year. And so if you're talking about making changes in the agreement that may alter the financial side of things, okay, you're going to be another year out.
Oh, I don't think that there's anything urgent per se. I just that it's 20 years old and maybe we should just take a look at it. That's all.
Okay, got it. Okay. Item number 5, consider a motion to approve operator license requests for various individuals and businesses in the village. Heidi?
So as you know, not all businesses have their staff start in June when we approve those annual licenses. I've had a few more trickle in, and so these are the people who are now requesting to be licensed operators for Sister Bay.
Okay. Somebody
I'll
want to
make
make a
that
motion?
motion.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion or questions? Not all in favor? Aye.
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 Thank you. Review of item number 6, review of chapter 6 of the Wisconsin Sister Bay, the Village of Sister Bay Municipal Code, alcoholic beverages, and preliminary discussion regarding potential revisions to that chapter. Consider a motion for action if relevant.
So just by way of introduction, some question had come up regarding how does the village define a restaurant for the purpose of alcohol licensing? And we follow what the state statute says, which is pretty vague. And it was discussed whether or not the village should have a more clear definition of what they consider a restaurant. And that snowballed into, here's a whole list of things that are in chapter 6 of the alcohol beverage license that you might want to look at revising in some way. So Denise, I think you were going to discuss this one more.
Well, Heidi and I, about a month or so ago, kept going back and forth on some issues pertaining to liquor licenses. And she talked with the state quite extensively multiple times, got some answers, and were surprised by some of the answers as we dug deeper into some of these issues. And as she stated, we have a few hotels that currently have a license that are deemed to have a restaurant. But in my opinion, they are not a restaurant. A continental breakfast of serve yourself cereal and some milk and coffee and tea, in my opinion, is not a restaurant. And so then Heidi is asking, you know, who should go about this? Who should make these recommendations? Should we have a small, you know, subcommittee to deal with this? Should Heidi and I work on it? Because I'm so involved with it already and have read all of this correspondence, should Heidi and I just kind of work on it and propose something to the village for then you to review, and you can like or dislike, you know, what our changes are. We also have a hotel that we found out that has an honor bar, which is illegal. And we have been licensing them. Heidi inherited it. She was unaware. And so there's some real issues with some of the people that we're licensing to start with. I went through our municipal code and made all kinds of notes on questions, comments, changes that I did discuss with Heidi earlier. So I don't know if the whole board wants to, you know, be bogged down with that, or, you know, what would you like to see?
I personally would be happy with the two of you going through and coming back with what your recommendations are, rather than bogging the board down. But I also would caution that usually in state statute, there's something to refer back to. So for instance, when you say, what's the definition of a restaurant? If they're licensed by DATCAP, they have a restaurant license. That's pretty cut and dried. And if they don't have a restaurant license, they're not a restaurant.
They're licensed by DATCAP.
Yep.
They're a restaurant.
You have to get a license to operate a restaurant.
Okay.
So if you don't have that license under state statute, you're not a restaurant.
And I don't know if at the time that these businesses applied for their license, did they provide that to the village or not, that verification?
Right. Well, it's an annual thing. You have to renew it annually every year.
So it'd be easy enough to go back to them and say, let me see your license. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Just
Okay,
as an
step
example.
one.
Yep.
Okay, that's good news. I was unaware of that. So Heidi and I can do that in our spare time.
Chad?
My only thing would be, while you do that, if how you interpret things seems to affect any existing business, that maybe that we get all that information right at the time, rather than making a decision that will affect the business we don't know, and then all of a sudden it affects it and it creates more, rather than talking through it. So that would be my only request, but I think it'd be great.
Right, I think there's for sure 3, maybe 4, I can't remember, that if we do change something, that they will be affected by it.
Yeah, and as long as we know that before we're making decisions, I think that's all I would request.
Okay. Sound good to everybody?
Sounds good.
And then the rest of the code too, right away?
Yeah.
Chapter 6.
Oh, the rest of the code. Oh, very funny, Chad. Very Chad. Chad, a question for you. Seeing that, you know, you're a tavern, but you have a kitchen, are you licensed by DATCAP, or is that?
We have to be. Even if we're, today's point, if we were selling, if I was giving away free toast at a hotel, I'd have to be licensed by the health department. I'd have to have a certain level of food safety restaurant licensing. And now there are different levels of it, but we serve more food than we serve alcohol. We have a full-on kitchen, so we're definitely.
I just didn't know if there was a difference or if it was exactly the same license.
Yeah, it's exactly the same. But you, like today, again, to Dave's point, you're going to see some of these people, if they're doing anything with food, unless it's prepackaged completely, and even then they might even have to be.
You have to have a licensed food safety manager on site in order to have a restaurant license. And that's a simple course to take that anybody can take. You can go in an afternoon or a day and take the course at any number of places around the state. But that's one of the requirements. You have to have a licensed food safety manager in place in order to qualify for a restaurant license, and ultimately you end up being inspected. And the idea is to ensure safety and sanitation to your customers.
And on the inspectors are great. I mean, he's pretty approachable and easy. And if you wanted to contact him and he just say, hey, can I get a list of all the restaurants you inspect in Citrus Bay? It would, save you a lot of work.
Do you know his name, Chad?
Yeah, Craig Krotchka. I can get you his contact information. Just email me and I'll pass it on to you.
Heidi, can you email Chad to get that? Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything else on that subject at the moment? Item number 7, discussion on recommendation from the Marina Fest Committee to approve changes to sections 4 and 5 of the Marina Fest bylaws pertaining to commercial vendors and arts and crafts / farmers markets vendors. Consider a motion for action if appropriate. Pat?
No, it's Scott.
Yeah, actually, yeah, be Scott from Marina Fest.
I'm sorry, Scott.
Yeah. Well, we had discussed that at the last meeting and forwarding it to the board. We're going to raise some of the fees. As Chris had suggested, some of it to cover the bands in the future, things like that. So it's just some price increases.
Okay. Do you want to make a motion?
I'll make the motion if I can.
Second.
Okay.
I have a question on page 90.
Sure.
Unfortunately, this is not one of the changes that you're recommending or that we're voting on. But on 4B, the bottom of the page, entry fee for commercial vendors providing special entertainment. The entry fee for commercial vendors or very unique services may be negotiated with the village administrator. I guess I just find that odd. And if you could give me some, I realize it's been in there for a while and you're not changing it, but if you could give me some background on why it would be the village administrator when the fees are set for everything else.
I'll dig into that, Denise.
Janelle,
you'll
you're
get back
muted.
to me. Okay.
Yeah, I'll get back to you.
I can tell you why that is, sorry. There was a little girl who wanted to come in and do henna painting for Marina Fest one year. And Zeke was here at the time and he talked to the Marina Fest committee about it. And they said, gee, it really doesn't make sense. If you think this little girl isn't going to hurt anything by coming in, she was doing a fundraiser for her school, you just go ahead and determine a fee. So that's what that refers to, is things like that.
Okay. Okay.
Anybody else would have to pay the required fee. It's just, and then the kids from the library wanted to come in and sell the things are not from the library, from the teen center, wanted to sell the glow sticks. It's for stuff like that.
Okay. Okay. Well, now it all makes more sense. Thank you.
Mhm.
Then you won't hear from me.
Okay.
Any other questions or discussion? Not all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Discussion regarding the suggestion that has been made by trustee Chad Kadunko that a Friends of Pebble Beach ad hoc committee be created. Consider a motion for action if appropriate. This was discussed at our last Parks meeting. Chad, you're welcome to.
Yeah, I think, going back to the purchase of Pebble Beach, I definitely, made some commitments, and I think it's time that we formalize it. There's enough going on there where parks were busy. We don't have enough time, and it would be a lot easier for maybe a group of people that really care about Pebble Beach to spend some time meeting and making recommendations and doing a lot of the legwork and doing some fundraising to help cover the cost of the maintenance, the garbage, the whatever is going on there. So I just thought it was time, just in light of, all that is happening.
Okay. Do you have a suggestion of the committee makeup?
I would say like 5 people's plenty. I would prefer not to be limited to village residents if possible. Just because I don't think, a makeup of village residents would be great, partly, but I think there's a lot of resources for this particular property that, you know, I could probably go outside the village and have a couple people that would be very helpful, especially on the fundraising side of things, et cetera. And getting volunteers, et cetera. Because how I foresee this going possibly is having a board of 5, but still trying to capture a lot of people into it to be helpful with it, whether it's garbage pickup days, whether it's whatever we come up with.
And that's not unlike, I think, like the Friends of the Park at the county level. They have a friends group, and that friend group goes out and they fundraise for particular items in a park. For instance, several years ago, the little wedding gazebo that was put up at Cave Point was purchased by the Friends of the Park, donated and installed by them. There's a couple of parks to the south that they put a better bridge in across one of the creeks that crossed. I think it was in Sugar Creek. They've also assisted in some of the boat launch areas. I can think of a number of other things that they've done to assist as Friends of the Park. And it puts things in place that the Parks Department either couldn't do themselves, didn't have the time for it, didn't have the budget for it. And they would, you know, put together their plan. They would come to Parks and Parks would say, yeah, great, go for it. And then they would go back, fundraise, and then come back and complete the project.
That's a perfect model. I definitely like to speak with somebody there.
Yep. Okay.
I jump in quick.
Sure, Bo.
I just wanted to let everyone know I did have a meeting with our partners on this property, the Door County Land Trust, and just explained to them what Chad's, thinking and what the plan was for this. They did give their blessing, obviously, to have this committee formed, and they just want, and Chad, I'll pass this along, to make sure that when we pick the committee members, that they overview and take a look at the conservation easement that we have in partnership with them, just to make sure that we don't overstep our bounds and that they're aware of anything that would happen on that property. And I told them that would be the plan to move forward with.
Yeah.
I also know in our last, sorry, Chad.
No, go ahead.
I also know in our last discussion with the Land Trust, they had asked me what our plans were regarding signage. They want to see those Land Trust signs and that kind of stuff go up on the property. So I think it would be good to get a committee moving on this so we can get those basic things done that we had agreed to. I'd also like to throw out a suggestion that this committee be on a volunteer basis rather than a paid committee.
Oh, absolutely. That's what, no one needs money to do this.
Okay.
Well, I think, and I was going to bring that up also and ask that question, Tasha, because I do believe that it's in the bylaws that any committee gets paid. So I don't know how we differentiate this without breaking our own bylaws. So we might have to look at that wording or specify, possibly change something in the bylaws if it's volunteer and not paid.
Mm-hmm.
Louise?
They can opt out. I mean, our
Yes.
ad hoc ice rink committee, everybody opted out for getting paid.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a way to do it, but
Right. Makes sense. So Chad, would you be okay with, first of all, I'm definitely in favor of this because I've seen what these types of committees can do in other locations. It can be a great thing, or groups. How about one trustee, 2 residents, and 2 non-residents, or up to 2 non-residents?
I think that'd be great. 1, 2, and 2.
Yep.
Yeah, that sounds great.
So what I would propose, or what the motion I would make, is to go ahead and create this particular committee under that makeup. I would appoint, of course, with board concurrence, Chad as the chair. And then Chad can come back with the 2 residents and the 2 non-residents, or up to the 2 non-residents, make up for approval by the board once he has his volunteers in place or his committee people in place.
I'll second that.
Discussion or questions?
Yeah, and Tasha, I'll come meet with you next week, or maybe even, well, let me know your schedule, and just to kind of go over the stuff that's on the docket with the signs with the Land Trust, and Bo, you as well. Just any concerns I have, I'll meet with you guys just so I get that stuff down before I even go any further.
And I would also point out this would be a quote subcommittee of parks, properties,
Yes.
and streets. Right. That would be the oversight. Denise.
Oh my gosh. I just forgot my question. Well, I don't know. I'm gonna have to wait until it comes back to me. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Oh, I know. Would we want anybody from the land trust to be an ex officio so that they're constantly in the loop? Or Chad, do you think that that could add more bureaucracy to the Friends?
I don't know. It's a good question. I think it would be great in theory. I don't know if it's needed. I guess I want to read over everything. You know, but yeah, I see no disadvantage to having somebody from the land trust. You know,
I thought about that when I was reading this yesterday. My gut tells me they're available for oversight with us at the village level already. I don't know if we want to put them at the subcommittee level.
Okay.
They'll still have input on it on an ongoing basis. Everything we come back with, we're going to run by them. So rather than have, I would rather have the committee steer themselves in the way they feel they need to go without feeling there was some type of somebody looking over their shoulder all the time.
Okay.
Yeah, and I
Good
just want to jump in on that and chime in. They kind of agree with exactly what you just said. They don't really want to have to be involved in the committee, but just some oversight if anything comes up or there's an idea that they just, it's run by them.
Just looking at the bylaws, our bylaws say that any committee or commission meetings in an official capacity as a voting member of that committee, commissions shall be eligible for compensation as described. Doesn't say required. So I think if you include in your motion that this be on a volunteer basis, that should be enough documentation, in my opinion.
Okay.
perfect.
Perfect. Okay. We'll include that in the motion. Any other?
Seconded the motion, I'm sorry.
I think I did, Denise.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Dave, I'll come to you at the next board meeting, or is this at Park? It'll be the board where I'll give you the list of.
Yeah, the board is where we would approve the list
Okay.
of individuals.
I'll have that for next board meeting.
Perfect. Okay. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Item number 9, discussion regarding a request from Gary Wissa to allow amendment of the development agreement for parcel number 181-42-30001D, which has been assigned an address of 10601 Shoreview Place in such fashion that it states that the completion date for his duplex will be extended to May 1, 2021. Consider a motion for action if appropriate.
I just want to make sure, Gary, are you on here? Can you hear us? I don't know if he can.
He's muted, I think.
Okay, well, I'll just give some background. Hopefully he can jump in if he can hear me. Mr. Weiss had come into the office and approached staff in a discussion about a possibility to extend his deadline for completion from November 1, 2020 to May 1, 2021. And this is where I was hoping he would be able to chime in. He had discussed with us that in light of COVID, he had some issues with his builders to get the frame up and going. And he I believe he had called them off because of COVID. He had anticipated that no one would be able to work. And when he went and had a discussion with the crew, they were on other projects now, so they were on backlog. So that was part of the reasoning why the frame isn't up. Everything else is ready to go. He just needs a crew to come in and put the frame up. But obviously that impacts his timeline. So he said to me that he would have it completed hopefully by April, but by making it a May deadline, it just gives him a little bit of a blanket. I told him I can't make that decision. That's got to be a decision brought to board because obviously that impacts us a little bit on the financial end from an assessed value. So I just wanted to give him an opportunity to speak in front of you and have that discussion.
So we don't know if he can hear us. Okay.
Yeah, I can't tell.
Okay.
I'm messaging him.
Was there a reason that this was not taken to Plan Commission?
there's a provision in the development agreement that says any amendments have to go to the board.
Well, that's fine, but normally we also have some discussion from the plan commission.
I followed the development agreement there and I just brought it straight to board. I didn't think that it went to plan commission first.
Plan commission does not feel slighted, Dave.
Okay. I like the input of plan commission, slight or not.
Question.
I'll give you my opinion, and we also, Nate and Scott are here also. I think we're making a variety of concessions to all different kinds of people and businesses in light of the state, that or in the world that we are all living in currently. So financially, I don't know how it will impact us with the minimum assessed valuation or anything. Maybe Tasha could talk about that, but we're only talking about what, 5 or 6 months.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think we need to be reasonable, and I think that's reasonable.
Just so you know, he's on. I don't think he can get his mic working. He's trying to get his mic on.
Okay.
So I don't know if Scott and Nate agree or disagree with me, if they want to chime in.
No, I agree. I agree, Denise. Yeah.
And I just, if you go and take a look at the site, everything is still moving. It's not like that property hasn't been touched. If you go out there, the base of it's ready to go. He really just needs a crew to come in and put the frame up, and they were just busy. So.
Okay. All right. Do we have a motion on this?
I'll make the motion, Dave.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Item number 10, review of a draft of a letter of support for the extension of the Door County Coastal Byways Program and confirmation that the village wishes to participate in that program. Consider a motion for action if appropriate.
Dave, just so that you know, Annie Miller is on this or participating in this meeting. She's not on screen, but she's on the phone.
Okay.
I do have a question from in Annie's letter on page 144. It says, attached is a letter explaining what we need and a copy of your original resolution of support. Please note, if no changes to the commercial district are made from the original application, then a map of your zoning districts are not necessary. And I was wondering, have they changed or have they not changed?
I don't know. Annie, are you there? Do you want to comment?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. I don't know if your zoning districts have changed, but basically what they're asking is if you want to keep all of your stretch of Highway 42 in the byway so that it remains eligible for any grants that you might come across for projects, then leave it as is. Otherwise, sometimes a municipality will choose to exempt, certain district or something like that because they want to have more freedom. Basically, it's for advertising, but your advertising is as strict, if not stricter than the current law, which is what was in place 10 years ago. So if you stayed the same, you would still be eligible to apply for any grants. And there were some grants that were available through the transportation side of things. I know one of them was burying power lines. Unfortunately, you guys already did that, but there's something like that out there, so there may be more. So if you just want to keep things the same and update the resolution that you had from 2009, that works, because Liat said that even just a letter saying that you want to remain with the byway as was in 2009, that would work too.
Well, my question was not to Annie, because how would Annie know whether or not we have changed anything? So my question is to staff. You know, did somebody look up the old one and compare it to what we have now?
Right. Have we changed our zoning boundaries is the question, I think. Right.
I
Some of
checked,
those zoning boundaries have changed on 42.
yeah, and I checked that and they haven't.
Okay, that's all I needed to know. Thank you.
Okay.
So it's just the zoning, not a new business?
Just the zoning.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah,
good.
change that zoning.
Okay. Okay, so I would like to see us continue with the Coastal Byways program. I see people shaking their head. Would somebody make a motion?
I'll make the motion, Dave.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Okay, so is that motion then that you're approving the letter, the draft of the letter that was included in the packets? And then we'll send that to Annie?
Yes.
Yes.
Any other discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Report on county activities from County Supervisor Dave Lino. Not a lot of activity to report on. Our county board meeting is next week. We had our administrative meeting this morning, which was very short. It was only about 35 minutes, which was almost a record for us. So everybody's moving into the budget mode at this point in time. So there's not a lot of other items on the agenda until we get a little bit later in the fall. So, unless you have a question for me or something came up that you'd like to know about the county, I'll move on. Discussion regarding the confirmation of President Lino's recommended appointments. Consider motion for action if appropriate. I do not have any recommended appointments at this moment. However, I do have a question as to vacancies on committees. I am aware that we have 2 vacancies now on the Plan Commission. If you have anybody that you would like to recommend or somebody that you think could be called and talk to about it, let Denise or myself know, and we will start to move forward to find those replacements. We're talking about the Plan Commission vacancies, Denise.
Yeah, no, I heard the whole time.
Okay, okay.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, discussion, report by the village administrator on village activities and projects.
So I'll give you a quick rundown of what's on the report there. I have talked to Jessica from the DNR, who's reviewing the Pebble Beach grant. They are not at completion yet, so I don't have a determination. But the good news is it's being reviewed at their administrative level, and they're asking for a couple more details. So that's always a good sign. Obviously, I'll keep everyone up to date as I get more information on that. Cameras are up and operational at the marina. I'm not going to disclose how many we have out there, but we've got eyes out there, which is good. And we can get the feed in the administration building as well. So I don't actually have to be on site to see what's going on over there, and it's recording. So that's good news. I do want to just give a brief update. We are still currently working on the utilities DPW director there. Unfortunately, the person that was picked can no longer accept the position, so we are working with the personnel committee to get that back up and moving. I will keep everyone up to date on that. The DCEDC Northern Door site tours, Louise, I know you had emailed me about this. I have put together and still working on a packet to provide to DCEDC about tours for property that's available in the village. I really want to focus on a couple of sites that have been available for some time and really haven't sparked too much interest. So I think that that's important. I'm going to focus on 4 key properties, and that's Shopco, the vacant parcel on Fieldcrest and 42 right across from the mini golf, and that's a B1 property. I want to oversee the 13 lots on Stony Ridge just to see if we can get some interest on people so we can have a possibility of some projects there. And then lastly, the retail units, the 2 bottom retail units that is owned by Mr. Murphy on Mill and Parkview down by the beach. So if anyone has any other properties that they think are worth putting out there for developers to see and tour, please let me know and I'll add that to my list. I have to get that to them by September 1.
Are there any parcels down 57? When you mentioned Stony Ridge, are you talking about commercial parcels that are on Stony Ridge?
Yeah, that's kind of that 12-acre property. I know there's some interest there, but I just want to make sure that people, keep viewing that. I want to focus on the business end of this.
Okay, well, what about further down 57 itself?
That one I haven't really done too much research on down 57. I know that there's a few properties available, but I don't know what their activity looks like. I haven't really talked to the people who own those properties.
Okay, well, it might be worth a discussion if he's going to bring a tour of people up here to take a look at properties. Why preclude a pretty long stretch of commercial property down 57?
No, that's a valid point.
Especially if they're in the TIF district.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
There is a commercial, there is a commercial building at Canterbury Lane that's for sale right now. It's been
Canterbury,
for sale
okay.
for a long time.
Okay,
And
I'll add those to my list.
obviously, we need some work, but
Oh, that's a good point. Yes,
yeah,
right down the corner.
right there on the corner.
Location-wise, it's pretty
One
good.
office. Yeah,
Thank you.
could be multi-use. Could be an incubator. There's this pretty big building.
Yeah, I always say the more the better for these lists. So if anything pops up in your head after this meeting, just let me know. Email me.
Pat?
Well, I've got a request for Bo. So new cameras at the marina are great. I think there's multiple avenues, and one is marketing. So as a boater, when we look at other marinas to go to, many of those marinas have cameras up that you can see. Is it a big marina? What kind of condition is it? What's the weather like for the weekend coming in? If there's a way to get a link to the village and or marina's website to show marina, that's a sales feature.
I've talked to Quantum PC about that. I want to get this set up first and see how the the storage feature works. But that's something that I've considered and want to do. Definitely.
Okay, super. Thank you.
The other question I have, it's not in your report, but I noticed Mike Carr's got his barge in down next to the dock. What is he doing?
That one I've called him and I haven't gotten a message back. I don't know exactly what that's doing there. I thought it was riprap.
I think Pat can answer that. Go ahead, Pat.
It is, yes. So last fall, we began putting stone in around to support the break wall on A, and he ran out of stone, and so we said we'll pick it back up in the spring. And we requested some more funding to do more rock too. So he needed a place to store the barge for the weekend. Last year, he put it right inside of A, and it became a hazard boating issue. So we said, can you put it over there by the boathouse? He is going to put a few rocks, not many, but a few in front of the corner of the boathouse because we had a bad storm and the water was actually hitting the corner of the boathouse and took off the bottom two pieces of siding. So we need a little support. So he will, I think it's 2, 3, 4 kind of rocks just to break up water if we get a big west wind again.
Well, I was also wondering, since he's positioned where he is just docking overnight, I realize that, but it'd also be real easy for him to spin around his backhoe and take care of our eroding beach line between the boathouse and the swim dock.
Eroding beach line. I'm being thick, apparently. What do you mean by that?
Okay, between the swim dock and the boathouse, there's been a lot of erosion and rocks and property eroding into the water. And I think Danny had put some rocks in there to try and hold it back, but it needs considerably more work than what he's been able to accomplish at this point in time. So I'm being a little tongue-in-cheek about this, but he's right there. Maybe we should have a discussion because it'd be real easy for him to nudge that up and put it together.
So do you want him to push the rocks in toward the land to do away with any?
I think he would have to tell us that because it looks to me like it's continuing to slough off. I mean, it's like a Lake Michigan property with a high bluff. More and more keeps falling in. It's back a good 12, 15 feet now into the grassy area that didn't used to be there. And now that grass area is disappearing.
Okay. All right. Well, I know Amy speaks with him regularly. I could ask her to speak with him and get his thought on it.
Right. I mean, because he could easily take a peek based on where he's currently moored.
Sure.
I know
guess
Dave's been
The
working
other
on that.
question I would have is, there's one piece of steel piling that has come up with the ice shove on the swim dock. I think, and it's a rusty, somewhat sharp, probably 3-foot piece. I'm thinking it will cost something, but to see if he can pound that back down so that it's not a hazard would probably be a really good idea.
Okay.
But that's
And
more of a parks thing, I think, but.
You can talk to Danny about that though.
Okay.
Okay. It's a good time to bring this up because I know also that, and Pat, you're sure aware of this too. So the Corps of Engineers is saying that we're going to start swinging down on the lake level, 2 to 4 inches through September, which would obviously be of help. But supposedly we're starting on that cyclical downward point, and it really depends, of course, upon how much rain and snow we get ongoing long. But we may be going over the edge of starting to creep down on the water level stuff.
That would be good.
Great. Cross your fingers.
Yeah. So it's a good time to take, if he's there, to take care of this kind of stuff. That's all.
Okay. So if let's say Amy talks to him and he says, and I have no idea what it would cost, 2,000, 5,000, I don't know. But do you want that? Get that to Bo or to Parks? Is there an emergency budget available if he says?
Well, I would have him contact Bo, at least so we know, since he's here, and Tasha has all the money. She always figures out where everything comes from.
Okay.
So
Okay.
whether we can do it or not, if we get some information, that would be helpful.
Okay.
Follow up on that.
There was money budgeted to repair the swim dock. We hadn't done anything about it because the water level was too high. So we had capital funds budgeted to do this. So even if there was a minor repair, there are budgeted funds to take care of even something minor.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you, Tasha.
Yep.
Okay. The other thing I would mention, it's probably going to come up under Marina, but we were talking about Amy and repair of docks and refurbishing, et cetera. And of course, hopefully everybody got the email that Amy's grant writing ability has gotten us a couple of really great grants for Marina.
Yes, we're very pleased with that. We're looking at, I think, about $80,000 worth of grant money.
Yeah.
Which is super.
Yep, that's great. Okay, anything else, Bo, from your activities?
The last thing that I just wanted to mention, there's been a number of people parking down by the beach. It's been getting busy, and we've noticed that people have been parking on that grass there right by the parking lots. So we've been out there. Parks has been out there. I'm going to be putting in some no parking signs along that grassy area, and then continuing that down towards where the condos are on that grass section there. We get a lot of people parking over there. And
so you're talking about the south side of Mill.
Yes, that's it. Yep.
So why don't we make that parking?
What's
They've been
that?
parking there for 5 years.
Right. Why don't we make that parking? Make it official. Get rid of the grass.
Yeah.
I like it. Less signs, more gravel.
You got it.
And maybe Chris Schmeltz could give us those three parking spots on 42 he's been taking all summer.
Denise?
I think that's a horrible idea.
What? I want the 3 parking spots back. Is that a bad idea?
No, that's a good idea. I don't like the other parking idea. No.
You're going to lose. Here's what you're going to lose. You're going to lose 10 parking places minimum.
Yeah, we don't need to do that.
Go count them. That's what it's going to be.
Yeah.
And you can have the 3 in that Chris has every day.
Okay, so I think we ought to refer this to Parks. It's obviously going to take a little more discussion.
If we do that, Bo, could you please take some photos to include in our next parks packet on some different angles of that space so that we have a really good understanding of what we're talking about?
Yeah, I'll gather the information for the meeting.
I just want pictures in the packet.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Moving along, item 14, review the financial statements, consideration of a motion to approve the monthly bills.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Discussion, questions?
I had plenty of questions for Tasha earlier, and I think she answered them all.
Okay, so we have actually two different items in this agenda. Approve the monthly bills is one. Tasha, is there something in particular on the financial statements that you want to talk about?
No, there's nothing particular in the financial statements. Generally, I like to include those at least quarterly for you guys. So that's the quarterly statements. I hadn't included them yet this year because of the chart of accounts conversion. I will also say that I'm going to work on condensing that 25-page general fund financial statement into something quite a bit smaller than that, so that it's a little easier for everyone to understand.
Okay, that would be appreciated.
Yeah.
Did have one question on page 175, the first line has tax refunds, and it has 2,281.63% of budget.
Yes.
What happened?
So that is something that we will have to make a budget amendment for. But at the time we created the budget, we didn't have any kind of settlement agreement related to scanned yet. Early in 2020, we finalized that and refunded those taxes. So we will be working on chargebacks for the October deadline. But regardless, the refunds are on there right now.
Okay.
We will have one large budget amendment in December in order to move our 2020 budget from the old chart of accounts to the new chart of accounts. And in that, we'll clean up all of these other little things. You'll see a lot of issues with how we break down payroll. We have not broken it down the way that this new chart of accounts is. So there will be a lot of things to clean up, and there will be, I think there will be things like that for a couple of years until we all get used to figuring this one out.
Okay.
I think in my long conversation with Tasha today, I know it is her job, but this has, from my understanding and what she shared with me today, has been a little bit of a nightmare. It was not working the way that it was intended, and she has been fighting with the program, and support was not all that supportive, let's say, and she did figure some of the things out on her own. And so I just think that, we should thank her for just the frustration of changing the chart of accounts.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay, great. Thank you, Tasha.
For all you do.
You.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Next, we have committee reports. There is one change in committee reports that I guess we should have been doing all along, and we never understood that. But when we're finished with the reports, we should make a motion to accept the reports as presented. And within these reports, sometimes there are minutes that have not been approved by the individual committee yet. That's okay. We would just be accepting them as presented. And if things change, they change at the committee level. So we'll start with committee reports. Admin has not met. Admin and COP has not met. Common Technology has not met. Coastal Byways.
Not met.
DC, EDC. You're muted, Nate.
Just the Northern Tour thing. The developer tour.
Okay. Economic Development has not met. Finance has not met. Fire.
Minutes are in the packet. Discussion, we made up a document on fire department assistance. We were asked by the gentleman at Dovetail Trading about coming out to water his new lawn. The fire department was. So we decided we were going to put together a document that kind of gave some guidelines of what we can use to help the public and what we turned down. Discussion on the audit,
Oh,
the rescue.
Scott, before you move on to that, can I just ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Just in general, this is the way I understood it in the past, that if somebody wanted the water, for instance, the water can be provided, but it has to be transported and dispensed by themselves or by,
Correct. Correct. Well, utilities would provide water.
okay,
The requester would have to move it.
okay, all right. So that's the basis of the discussion.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Correct.
Okay.
Rescue update, we're looking now for the new truck third quarter of 21, hopefully. And of course, everybody knew Marina Fest was canceled.
So Scott, do you want to, I don't know if you've had conversation with Tasha. There was the one question that came up that it apparently last year after the fire board had kind of put in a request for the budget for this year, there was discussion from finance, I think with the town and the village about we should use what's available or maybe have input in budget. And so Chris just asked if both the town and the village would reach out to finance to see if they have any opinions on next year's budget.
You're right, Pat. That was that last minute adjustment, Tasha, we had to make last year on
Well,
the.
that happens every year, that last minute
Yeah.
adjustment, because we have to do, we take our best guess
Correct.
on what is it, CPI, what CPI is going to be. And then once we get the actual number, we have to make some budget adjustments, but we don't get that actual number until the beginning of November, I think.
Yep.
So I guess, Pat, could you restate what you had said? I kind of missed the first part of it.
I wasn't on fire board last year, but my understanding was Chris said that kind of late in the game, finance actually said, you know what, you can and should take more budget or funds because of some reason. And so that's fine. But he said, if that is how, if you know something in your financial wisdom that says, hey, you know, there's going to be this amount of money that fire could or should use, that would be good to know as he's looking at next year's budget.
Okay. The only thing I know from those conversations is that on the Liberty Grove side, they're pushing a little bit to increase the budget so that we can make room for an eventual full-time position out there. And so we are increasing it whatever we can based on state statutes within the levy limits as much as we can each year. And that's where that last minute adjustment comes in. That's tied to the levy limits. But otherwise, as I keep in contact with Chris, especially this time of year when he is developing his capital plan, and we're in communication that way before fire board so that there aren't any surprises when we come to the fire board meeting.
Well, then great. Then that's all I wanted to see is that
Okay.
Chris, somebody's in contact. He just said it'd be good to touch base with Tasha to see if there's anything percolating on her end. So if you're
Perfect.
in touch,
Sounds good.
okay.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions about fire?
I
Something
have
else?
one.
Go ahead.
In the chief's report, it says in-person meetings have resumed. Does that mean for the department or did that mean for the commission?
Yes.
We were meeting yes, we are meeting in person, spread out in the fire department, fire station.
But it also means that, correct me if I'm wrong, Scott, that they have resumed some training as socially distant as possible, because he said it is evident when they suspended that training that people lose
Enthusiasm.
passion and enthusiasm, and not as many show up, not as many are as engaged. And he said, I want to make sure people are well trained, are passionate, safety, and he feels like it's necessary to have some in-person training. So yes, there have been some meetings as socially distant as possible that have resumed of the volunteers.
Okay, so then if if the commission is meeting in person in the large room, well spaced out, I mean, this was a topic of conversation at last month's board meeting where the library had multiple meetings in the library spaced out. And I believe Dave agreed with me that this should not be, that the Zoom meetings should be applied to the library board also. And so I wonder how can we say that for the library board, but then the fire commission operates differently? So I was just wondering, is there a set of standards, or we just let anybody do what they want to do?
Well, I think as a village, we've decided that we are still doing Zoom meetings and we're not doing the in-person. And so I think that should apply. When you talk about the training that Chris is talking about, I think you're talking about essential workers, and that's a different animal. I do know they had a training evening about 2 weeks ago, 8 to 10 days ago, and I know they were socially spaced. I don't know if they were wearing masks inside. I have to assume that he was doing whatever he could on the social distancing side for the training piece.
Yeah, I'm not concerned about the training. I was just concerned about each of the boards, that if we're if we said the library couldn't meet in person anymore, then how does the fire commission meet in person? Training is a whole separate thing.
Maybe we need to have that discussion with Liberty Grove, since both of those are joint Liberty Grove Sister Bay issues.
So is that something on the administrator's to-do list?
I think it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
All right, Bo.
Okay, and so Bo, we have a meeting, I think, next Tuesday. So if there needs to be a change, if you can let us know.
Meeting, I'll get in touch with Liberty Grove again. We did this at the library board. It's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, we meet on the 28th.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anything else on fire, Scott?
Nothing for me.
Okay. Historical Society.
Was not able to attend, Dave.
Holiday lighting has not met. Library. Anything to add, Vivian, from?
No, I was going to say, I think we've pretty much covered it.
Okay. Marina Fest. I think we've covered Marina Fest. How about Marina, Pat?
I think there are minutes in the packet, aren't there? Yeah.
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 It's going along pretty well. You heard we've got cameras for a variety of reasons, and we're got the grant, so we're got a meeting set up next week with the contractor to talk about timing to possibly start this fall or next spring to get work done, and so moving along.
Okay. Any questions about Marina? Okay. Parks, I think minutes are in there. Personnel, I think Bo gave the update to that.
Yep.
Somebody has questions? Plan Commission?
I'm just curious on how many of our village board members read the attachments of all the letters for the Plan Commission.
I didn't read them, but I listened to them all.
Yeah, I know you were on the call, Dave.
Yeah. I was on the call as well.
Okay. SBAA.
Oh, that's me. Minutes were in there, I believe. Maybe not. Yeah, minutes were in there. Fall Fest is canceled. That was as per the parks. So we're going on. Louise is working on membership.
Yep. And Halloween.
Okay, wait, Louise, you'll have your opportunity in a moment.
Sorry. And Halloween, yeah, the Halloween lighting issue, but that's also at parks right now, right?
It was, yes.
Was.
Okay. And Capture the Spirit is kind of on hold for now.
Okay. Louise, would you like to add anything?
No, I think we're good. We're struggling with how to have Santa. Santa is pausing for the winter. So we've got to find another Santa, and then if we want to do any kind of Santa. So all the coordinators are trying to figure that out, to tell you the truth. You know, how we do a Santa sighting of some type without having a crowd. That's very difficult. So we did cancel. Sadly, the reindeer and the elves aren't going to make it this year. So they are going to be staying up at the North Pole. So, but we're going to have, we may put two, we have one post box out there. We might add two because it's pretty popular. So maybe this year it'll be a little more popular. So anyway, Capture the Spirits, we'll figure it out. We'll make it as great as possible for them. But anyway, membership is going well. We've sent everything out. That's awesome. We had a photographer come up to do a summer photo shoot. She's coming back to do a fall shoot. We really love what she did for summer. And some of the shots are great. We'll launch the new website in early January or maybe February, something like that, along with the logo and stuff. So we'll present that at a little bit later date. The good news is when we canceled Fall Festival, we got about 8 bazillion engagements. So it helped our social, so that was fabulous. But honestly, the pushback wasn't bad. Maluska handled it all. We only had to delete or hide a couple because of bad language, but otherwise it really wasn't bad. People were extremely, and our businesses stepped up big time and shared the post and made lovely comments. And honestly, everybody, everybody was great. And so I have had some calls about Marina Fest, what's happening. And that's really about it. So for right now, it's all about 2021. And we've had some calls about Cherry Drop. We are talking to the lodge about it. I'm not quite sure how that's going to work. And we have 2 major businesses that may not want it to work. So that's the next step, is to figure that one out. So with us, it's really about, and like I said, the visitor level, except during the week it's slowing down. This week was slow so far in the village. It's been a little slow, but the weekends have been since June 24th. All of our any hotel that we track, we have not had a room on weekends.
Okay. So since you seem to have a direct line to Santa, the big guy, can you try and get
whatever you want? You're not getting it. So
can you get like an inside view from him whether he's going to be able to hit the chimneys this year or not, or is it too early to tell? Get those gifts down.
He put on the old COVID 50 in his case, so he's got to get on the treadmill if he thinks he's getting down any chimneys around here. So not sure that's going to happen. But anyway, so he, like Hershey's has already put out Halloween candy because they learned from Easter. This is interesting. They learned from Easter that, and they were relatively flat for Easter, and when it was really raging, right? I know it's not great now. They learned from Easter that they needed to get it out early. And Halloween, whatever that period of time is for them, is 10% of their total business. So if you go to anywhere, there is Halloween candy out now. And, yeah. And anyway, and so, and the CEO
help Santa not gain any more weight.
Yeah, well, he's going to, and I didn't want to talk about the elves. That's another thing. So they got to start working out too. But so I don't know about Santa, Dave. We're going to have to maybe write a little letter,
Okay,
put it
well,
in
if you hear anything, keep us updated. It's important.
I will absolutely keep you updated. And in case anybody knows, the donations for the Halloween lights are coming in very well.
Oh, good. Okay, perfect.
But not well enough that we might need a little help.
Well, hey, if Santa's not going to be doing too many gifts this year, maybe he's got some elfing he can do on the Halloween lighting side.
Possibly. He hates Halloween. It's his biggest competitor. He hates them.
Okay, tourism zone.
Oh, that's me too. Has not met. That was easy.
Utilities.
Has not met, Dave.
Youth Center has not met. Ad hoc Ice Rink Committee,
Has
Work-
not met.
are working on it. Emergency Management Plan Committee has not met. Does anybody else have any other minutes or committee reports to bring up? Okay. I would make a motion that we accept the committee reports as presented.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Passed. Thank you. Consider a motion to convene an executive session pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.851C. Discuss personnel and employee benefits, Wisconsin statutes 19.851E, to deliberate and negotiate the purchase of public properties, the investment of public funds, or conduct other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, Wisconsin statutes 19.851G, to confer with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or likely is to become involved. Motion by Lino.
Second.
Roll call. Lino, yes.
Baker, yes.
Bell,
Berto,
yes.
yes.
Okay, we're now in closed session. We'll take a few minutes to let people drop off.
Okay,
I make a motion, we reconvene back into open session. Motion by Lino.
Second.
Roll call. Lino, yes.
Baker, yes.
Bell, yes.
Berto, yes.
Kadanko, yes.
Nino, yes.
Duffy, yes. Okay. We're now back in open session. There is no action to be taken based on what was discussed in closed session. Matters to be placed on future agenda referred to committee, official, or employee. We had a couple tonight. Janelle?
it's the, sorry, it's the
That's
committee
all right.
for the ad hoc Pebble Beach, Friends of Pebble Beach.
Right.
Then you're gonna make the referral to the parks about the riprap repairs at the beach.
Yep. Okay. Anything else?
Now, I show that your next meeting is the September 22nd at 6. Is that okay?
Let me get my paper calendar out. Make sure.
Parks is going to discuss the parking down by the beach.
When is the next one?
September 26th.
September 22nd.
22nd, okay.
I have it in my calendar as the 15th.
Well, it's always, oh, wait, I'm sorry, it's the third Tuesday. So that would be the 15th, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the 15th is the next one.
Yeah.
Okay.
The one thing for the agenda I'd like to request, I know we have parks the day before, but it wouldn't give us enough time to maybe add something to the agenda. I think we need to talk tents. I know businesses or restaurants like ours are talking with other restaurants about having some kind of tenting going on this fall. And I know we have a process through the village, but I think we may need, I guess I got to look at that process, but I'd like maybe that to be on parks and to be on the board.
Chad,
So-
we're going to talk about that after the meeting, and it won't need to be an agenda item.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, anything else? If not, a motion to adjourn would be in order.
I
So
will-
moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are
Okay, I'm
adjourned.
sorry, was that Pat or was that Nate? That seconded it.
I will. It doesn't matter.
It was on me.
Okay.
Made the motion, I thought, but
Okay.
Oh, so you made the motion,
And
Scott?
Pat, second.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
we're all set. So Chad, if you would stick around, that'd be great.
Yep.
Bo?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm gonna stop it so that the recording stops, okay?
Yes, please, yep.
All right. Good night, everybody.